The Socialism Conference is the place in this country where we meet people who are involved in movement work, activist work on the ground in communities all across the country.
What I really love about Socialism Conference is that it's a space to be in community with other socialists, be in community with other people who are thinking about how do we actually build a movement for revolutionary and radical change in the world, and also just to have fun and hear about some of the work that each other is doing, to be inspired.
There is nothing that recreates the experience of being in Rome and being able to fellowship, being able to share ideas, being able to feel each other's presence in the physical form. It allows for a different level of connection. It allows for energetic vibrations that can't be captured via Zoom or via teleconference.
It's an opportunity for us to meet like-minded people. While we have a million differences, we're all in the struggle to make a better world, to make a world of balance and peace and justice and joy. And I find comrades here every time I come.
It's a place where we can dream about abolition and think about how we're going to create campaigns, how we're going to deconstruct the state while we're simultaneously creating the communities and care we need for all to survive and thrive.
If you are in any form of radical politics, movement building, art practice, facilitation, healing, and restorative work, I don't know of another gathering that happens like this that puts those entities together. And it's not just an elitist conference. A lot of times you can go to a space like this and there's a lot of top line names and everyone else feels like an audience. But here this feels like a community co-learning and interacting with each other.
If you are a person that's trying to figure out how we can prioritize putting people over profit instead of profit over people, if you're a person that believes in racial justice and the social good, socialism might be a place where you could find your folks.
If you believe that we deserve a world where people are cared for, where people's needs are met, and where people can truly self-determine, socialism is a conference for you. This space will help connect you to those people for you to grow and build with for years to come.
I don't understand how we can ultimately dismantle any of it if we don't stick to a intensely radical politics.
You're not broke if you're taxing rich people.
We break production for profit and we replace it by production for need.
This event is brought to you by Haymarket Books. Now more than ever, it is critical to support independent publishers, independent bookstores, and independent voices. There are two ways you can do this today. First, by buying books from Haymarket at haymarketbooks.org. And secondly, by joining the Haymarket Book Club. The following event will be recorded and shared afterwards on the Haymarket Books YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video now, and share it with as many people as possible. If you like this event, be sure to catch these upcoming events in Haymarket's live stream series. You can register for these upcoming events on the Haymarket Books Eventbrite page. If you miss an event, you can listen to the recording afterward by subscribing to our podcast, Haymarket Live, wherever you get your podcasts. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. We are moderating the chat, but we cannot guarantee that everyone will observe our community guidelines. People who violate these guidelines will have their comments deleted as quickly as we are able. This event will have live closed captions. Instructions for accessing the captions will be posted in the chat. We should have time for Q&A, so please post your questions in the YouTube chat window, and we'll get to those later in the program. Thanks for joining us today. Our event will begin shortly.
I used to be an elementary school teacher. I'm never in a room full of humans that are this. It's very. I know. I feel like, yeah. If you can hear me, clap once. All right. Yay! I think we're. Oh God, that was echoey. We are ready to start. Yay! Welcome everybody. My name's Dana. I work here at Haymarket Books, and I help manage programming here at Haymarket House. So welcome to Haymarket House. We are very excited to have you. Celebrating the launch of Nazar Boy with Tarik and friends. And yeah, if you're joining us virtually, welcome as well. If you don't know anything about Haymarket House, we are the home of Haymarket Books. So we're a publishing workplace, but we are also a cultural and community event space. So we do cool things like this, but we also do organizing meetings, rabble-rousing, retreats, book fairs, all sorts of things. So if you're interested in finding out more about our Chicago events, we have a giant QR code on the table. You can click and you can get on our Chicago mailing list. Before we begin our program, we do want to acknowledge that Haymarket House events take place on the occupied lands of the Council of the Three Fires tribes, the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi, who are the indigenous keepers of this land, and through acts of genocide were forcibly removed for the founding of this city and for the state of Illinois. We recognize the nations that lived in and around Illinois and the many indigenous people who live here today, and we stand in solidarity with their ongoing struggles for liberation. We also want to acknowledge that settler colonialism is unfortunately not relegated to history, but it continues today, and we stand in solidarity with the people of Gaza who are experiencing ongoing genocide and dispossession at the hands of the Israeli government and our own. We are also in solidarity with all the organizers who are bravely resisting the genocides in Palestine and have been forcibly repressed, again, by our own government, by campuses across this country. So we see coming together in community like this to be an important act of resistance in times that feel dark and uncertain. So thank you for being with us in this space. And helping us to build a community fighting for liberation and a better world. So I want to introduce now our amazing poets and get on with our inspiring and awesome program. I will introduce the poets in turn as they come up to read, so you don't have to listen to me speak a lot at the beginning here. We have some folks who are going to share some poems, and then we will adjourn. So you can buy books, hopefully get some signed, and have some more snacks and drinks and hang out with each other. So our first reader is I.S. Jones. Yay! I.S. is an American Nigerian poet and essayist. She has received support in the form of fellowships, retreats, and residencies from Hedgebrook, Brooklyn Poets, Sewanese Writers Conference, Callaloo, Breadloaf, and The Watering Hole. Her works have appeared and are forthcoming in Guernica, LA Review of Books, The Rumpus, Prairie Schooner, and elsewhere. For the last 3 years, she served as the director of the Watershed Reading Series with Art and Literature Laboratory. Her chapbook, Spells of My Name, was selected by Newfound for their Emerging Poets series. I.S. Jones is a 2023 Breadloaf Rona Jaffe Scholar, and she is currently an instructor with Brooklyn Poets, a reader for Poetry Magazine, and is at work on her debut full-length collection of poems, which we are all excited to see very soon. So, without further ado, I.S.
Sometimes when you're my height, you got to do a one hop into a chair. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. About to say, am I in this room by myself? Damn. When Tarik approached me to do this reading, my initial reaction was, hell yeah, let's get it done. And then my other reaction was, if it's okay with you, I'm going to read some angry poems about Palestine. And they were like, I would have nothing less. Tarik is one of those poets in the world who is not only an amazing writer and poet, but is also someone who's very diligent in taking care of their community. And I feel very honored to know them both as a person, as a poet, and also to celebrate their debut coming into the world. So thank you, Tarik, for letting me celebrate your good and living name. This poem is called What Is Left of Palestine, still a work in progress, but begins with the epigraph. I was born a black woman, and now I become a Palestinian against the relentless laughter of evil. June Jordan. What is left of Palestine? Home is longer than memory. Memory, like history, is shaped by the eye of the winner. We're watching the most documented genocide I keep hearing, lauded like an achievement, a hideous crown made of flesh. IDF soldiers parading the panties of Palestinian women right as they've been tossed out of their homes. Children too young to spell martyr, raptured by the flash of a bomb. Bodies dropping and dropping faster than tear gas can disperse the living. Humiliated to ashes, whole families indistinguishable from rubble. A Palestinian man drops to his knees in prayer. Another dropped by a singular bullet between the eyes. IDF soldiers rub bullets on a severed pig's head. There aren't enough mouths of the earth's opening to take in our dead. In group therapy, we're asked, what is your rose, your bud, your thorn? I say my thorn is when I search Palestine in Google Maps, all that appears is Israel, only for the white girl to tell me, well, there's suffering on both sides. One side is armed with a slingshot, the other armed with the full might of my country. And I have to say my country because this rage is mine to bear. This evil attempt to temper war with genocide as if language doesn't mean what it means. I've lived the same story. White men draw lines on a map, draw lines through our churches, our schools, our land, our lineage, and generations wail across the centuries. History is not a book. It is the blood that is my mother's and hers, and I've never been more ashamed to be an American than I am now. I don't want revenge in heaven. I want revenge now. Hot and sour and earthly revenge on my earthly tongue. So these are poems from my work in progress book called Blood Mercy, which I won't explain too much except to say that it reimagines Cain and Abel as sisters. I wrote a poem about being my father's best boy. Daddy's girl. Lord, forgive me, I am my father's child, cunning and arrogant with beauty, daughter prince, Adam's first, his sweet apple. I have his eyes. No man beneath God tells me what to do. Sly and nimble, I was called mischief more than my own name. And so when I caught Adam smoking a pack of coveted cigarettes, he rewards me with admiration, him with my obedience. My girlness bound beneath overalls to mama's disappointment. What she couldn't corral beneath a dress or brush back into even barrettes, she sent to Adam. We exchange glances, laugh with our eyes. She doesn't get it, and how could she? I am 8 and can only see her for her gender. Woman, meaning loneliness, is the animal I know best. She's never been a girl, never sent beneath the tender yoke. The feminine urge to be my father's best boy, I boyed better than the other boys. Peed standing up, won every game of nut check, shot my first kill by 10, caught trout by the mouth at 12, could spit a perfect parabola in the air. Feral against the demure, I braid my hair like Queen Latifah and set it off. Handsome for the boy mouth singing Shmino. Clever as I think I am, I could not stop the body's machinery. Memogenesis begins me again. Lot's wife is a common story, a tale told from mothers to daughters about disobedience, shame measured in salt. I refused the mercy of my sister's honesty when she told our father's betrayal would happen. My girlness treated like that of a fox, deceitful. Oh, Father, I have been a girl all my life. I have no other history, no other master but you. Mm, I did not really come here with like a set list. I was just like, we're just gonna go off vibes. So we're going off vibes, yo. I have all these poems about the character Kane beating up boys twice her age, which is obviously an extended metaphor for myself. Anyway, I'm going to read the first poem in the manuscript. After the offering ritual, Cain carries Abel home. Violence is a failure of communication. The shoulder severed from the dream of the socket. Most pain is useless, but it's the body's oldest song. I want my own suffering to be intimate. I do what I can to ease Abel's wailing, the goat's final gesture to dethrone her from the stone altar, to stir its might against its master. The beast saw the light but not the blade. Abel saw the resistance but not the panic. I had never seen so much blood moan from an animal's throat. To unburden the beast of its crimson gown, which dresses now my sister's sutana, heaven's blue flame laps the goat up. Despite our best labor, eventually Baba comes to collect. It's either the animals or us. The best of the harvest or the soil will consume our true names. We have blood and dirt. Together they make God. And what does mercy look like between humans? A sister reaching to lift a sister from the ground. When I say a love that will end us, I mean mercy. Remember, I offered you my hand once. Push me away if you like. Is anyone in here a recovering people pleaser? It's all good. This is a safe space in here. We can be honest. Yeah. I wrote this poem for us recovering people pleasers. Fawn, for Belinda Muneza, with gratitude, D'Angelo. Oh, also the poem talks very directly about domestic violence, if that's a warning you all need. Fawn. He only hit me because I couldn't get out of the way fast enough. Each palm formed against a child is meant to wound them into understanding. Instead of heirlooms, my mother passes down her shame. Pulls taut my hair and says it's disgraceful to be a girl who likes to please. In the gossiping circle, a girl flashes a hickey on her wrist. Rhododendrons in heat, her badge of budding sexuality. Shame touched me before anything else. My father stopped hugging me when the first blood came. I could wash myself but was never clean enough. I never touched anything, but when I did, it was for slaughter. To earn my keep in the tribe of girls, I let a boy give me a hickey. To endure it, I dreamed my first girl kiss. Lips soft of rosemary and lavender. Mother calls out my sister's name and I don't correct her. I could labor my way to beauty, to love. Mother lies to me and I say thank you. Mother says no one will love me if I am fat and I starve myself to husk. She leaves the room every time I cry and suddenly I am cured of all feeling. Dishes after dinner are left for me to clean and I say it is my pleasure to please. So desperate to be a creature someone wanted, I possess a new face to mask who I am. I'm not myself when alone, not myself around others. I am disappeared in all the temples I have made of people, shrine of disgrace. Before this altar, I cover my bare scalp, kneel my head to the God I've made in the image of my mother's approval. But don't worry, I promise to live up to your disappointment. Ooh, I know I said I was going to read new poems, but Julian, I'm going to read your favorite poem in the book. Epithalamion in the Field, which begins with an epigraph. And when I go towards you, it is with my whole life. Rainer Maria Rilke. As a deer longs for streams of water, so my heart longs for you. How the red wet animal my chest throbs your name. I gather a garland of the day's eye, sew a crown of branch and nettle, bleach clean the antlers of a fallow. Before ceremony, the church pews sing a language of hunger. Every beast I've slain has come to bear witness. Fill each seat with their mangled bodies. I'm so close to madness, Father. Stretch my hands. Guide me towards your light. You who knows and whose vast knowing undoes me. The rush of my blood is you. The faithful pacing of my lungs is you. Forfeit my eyes and lace and I'll still feel you. Come find me, Baba, in the church of wheat and sunlight. Before you I am disciple, bride, guardian of your perfect name. My body is merely a tool of execution. Take me as yours and I will follow you. Oh, how possible I feel in your light. Ooh. Okay, I got like 2 more poems and then I'm really excited to hear the homies read. Especially Tarik to read. Oh my god. I'm so proud of you, homie. You can't love my work without also loving Vivy Francis. So like, yeah, shout out to Vivy, man, and Vivy Francis we trust. Anyway, she's so great. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, I wrote this poem in part after her, which begins with an epigraph from her. What kind of girl are you? The kind who wants to live. Vivy Francis. Patience in the bramble. I don't remember squeezing the trigger, though I never forgot the Sorry, let me start the whole thing over. Patience in the bramble. I don't remember squeezing the trigger, though I never forgot the smell of gun smoke, of the wild dog's eyes ruined between rage and confusion, how I waited too long to shoot, and the beast an eyelash short of my throat when the bullet pierced its chest. I don't remember Adam handing me the misericord, but the blade never forgets completion, blood darkening a halo about the animal's head. There were many animals slain beneath me, then other girls. I never started the fight, but I always ended it, and sometimes the fighting ended me, on my back, on my knees, loose braids from another girl as trophy. Again, mama hollering I've torn another good frock, that I refuse to behave like a proper girl, more rough than gorgeous because my girlhood is fox-shaped, knows how to hunt and how to be hunted. Instead of I love you, Adam teaches me how to curl my hands tight, how best to stand for balance. All these years I thought he was trying to bond. I understand now it was to armor me against his life, for when he would one day lay beneath it. Obedience ever only afforded me an enemy's failure. The boys thought they could corner me, but what I lacked in height, I made up in precision. So I pulled the tallest one down by the collar and kneed him in the jaw. I wanted the boy to learn what life had yet to teach. That's what I told his mother when she called me an animal on her haunches who must now outrun the riot of boys. Imagine the years of running laid bare. I could shed my velvet, but not my girlhood. A girlhood mothered by scraps, fathered by a fist. Sometimes when I'm reading, I still have like my slam brain. So like if people are like I'm like just quiet, I'm like, damn, I might be bombing out there. I don't even know. But then I was talking to one of the homies at another reading. They were just like, when I'm quiet, I'm just like, I'm here with you. Like the poem, wherever you're taking me, I trust you. We're going in the same direction. Uh, this poem is titled "Sister's Dress." I was just laughing because my sister would, when we were growing up, she'd always be like, "You always like to take shit that ain't yours." I'm like, okay, but hear me out. I'm the eldest child. I do what I want. Completely. Sister's dress. Abel often likes to say, I take things that aren't mine. Like the boy's book I stole because he was mean to me. Or the time I stole your toothbrush because I wanted to know the mouthfeel of you. Sister, follow the singular thread between intimacy and urgency, and you'll find me there. Yes, I stole your stockings and socks. Your bluest frock blotted scarlet. your ruby studs and clumps of hair left in your comb. So desperate I was to know you at all, I stole your diary in the absence of your tenderness. I covet you in pieces to make a sister who would love me. Lay your stained dress next to your empty side of the bed to sleep.
All right, I think we can give some more love to IS, please. Beautiful. Thank you so much. So our next reader is Julian Randall. Yay. Props. I've learned to like pause after I announce people's names. Clap. So let's do that. This is me, a non-poet, trying to live in the poet world, and it's so beautiful and lovely how much y'all love each other. So Julian is a living queer Black poet from Chicago. His poetry and essays are published in the New York Times Magazine, Poetry, The Atlantic, and Vibe. He is the recipient of a Pushcart Prize. Julian holds an MFA in poetry from Ole Miss. His first book, Refuse, won the Cave Canem Poetry Prize and was a finalist for the NAACP, which is hard to do. He was also a contributor to the #1 New York Times bestseller, Black Boy Joy. Julian has previously worked as a youth mentor, teaching writing workshops to children on house arrest. Pilar Ramirez and the Escape from Zafa is his debut children's novel. And he's also the author of the recently published The Dead Don't Need Reminding, of which we had a fabulous event with you here. And we are so blessed to have you in our space. So welcome, Julian.
Y'all were very kind to keep clapping when I went back for my water bottle. I appreciate you maintaining the mystique. Word up. Okay, cool. What's good, y'all? Can we get a pop for Tarik real quick? It is such a enormous joy to be here tonight for such a wide range of reasons, but not least of which that I had the profound joy and honor of getting a chance to meet and befriend Tarik just before tonight began to happen. And at the time, I'm sure I'm not alone in this room in thinking this was the end of the world. This was the end of the world as we'd known it. And one of the great tragedies of that, had it come to pass, was that I knew Tarik's book was very good, but now all of you get to know Tarik's book is incredibly, incredibly good. So I'm going to read 3 pieces, and anytime you like something that I do, take that energy and go buy a copy of Tarik's book. Speaking of the pandemic, last time I saw you. Mid-pandemic, and living is a choice that I can't seem to stop making. The hours slither past, and most of what makes one day different from another is the echoes of my neighbors, the thudding steps of the toddler who lives upstairs, the weed smoke curling from the vent below. We are all in this together. We are all in love with the word us. Every other sentence begins with since. We are all looking back, some of us with love. Since the pandemic began, I say after all the time, and I've never known less about what I mean. This was the pre-vaccine world. The smoke was still on the air. I'd go out for my silly little walks once or twice a day while new things went missing. We are all in this together. We are all us. We are all going to beat this thing and then forget because we are Americans and this is. Since the air had turned to lava, most days found me against my will becoming intimately acquainted with my next-door neighbors' sex. A truly terrible sex playlist made up only of Ja Rule and the 8 saddest Whitney Houston songs in existence. I mean, fucks to Whitney Houston. There is no after. Since that sex playlist started around 9 a.m. and closed around 1 a.m., my headphones were always in. I tried to drown out the sound of someone else drowning out the world while I wiped the edge of various packages with Clorox wipes. We were all Americans. We are all in this together. Since George Floyd was murdered, I've taken to walking the streets at night with a bat over my shoulders. The president is saying after again, and like most words he says, I have no reason to believe that we were all in this together. We were all Americans. Every sound was too close. When the last moans of I have nothing would fade from my neighbors' speakers, I would remember I had a different problem. I had a mouse trapped somewhere in my walls again, and that little motherfucker was triggering the hell out of me. It was 2020 and murder was televised. It was 2015 and murder was televised. It was America. Only some of the living could laugh. Since George Floyd was murdered, white supremacists tried to firebomb the building across the street from me in the middle of the night. Since we were all trapped, we almost became an us. It had never been easier to die, and still I could not choose it. We were all Americans. We are all in this after together. Cool. This is from a different part of the book, from an essay called Of Tenderness of Fugitives. Speaking of the end, I realize now that I never told you the other video I love to watch when I'm supposed to be paying attention to something else. It's the Never Catch Me video by Flying Lotus. In the video, two small black children lie in matching caskets, the congregation's heads bowed in reverence for a small pair of lives clearly taken, though we'll never know how. As a Kendrick Lamar verse, I sometimes find myself rapping without even noticing, grinds into motion. Both the boy and the girl sit bolt upright. They dance in perfect harmony, dipping and swirling like old leaves in new weather, like the light that shimmies away from the blade. All the church oblivious with grief, and haven't I been sometimes too? Haven't I sometimes been so preoccupied with running, with a destination I can only call elsewhere and hope it is a kind of heaven? Haven't I too been guilty of missing the small ancestors pirouetting alongside me, clapping me towards Mississippi where the summer begs the dead to dance and they oblige? When a black boy dies, I think he could have been me. I could have been him. And from this video, I wrote 3 of the poems in the MFA packet that brought me to Mississippi, and ain't that a kind of grace? On the screen, I watched the boy slide along the blacktop with the girl, hopping and twirling, their faces split to joy. They dance as if gravity is a suggestion they no longer require, as they steal inside the hearse and coax the motor to roar to life. And the kids whose parents weep for their children's dead friends inside are the only ones who can see them. And they give chase like the black boys who moments after I watch this video will appear as if from nowhere, like a cadre of ancestors to flag down what is going to leave me behind. And on the screen, the boy leans his head out of the window, and he could be Slim or me or simply the moon finally finding its right sky as he grins. He and the girl smile, revving the hearse. If we are to be born running, I hope the road always rises for us. May we grin until we are a kind of forever. May forever be a mighty long time. Now remember, every time you clap, that's a pre-order. All right, cool. I'm gonna close with Tarik's favorite of my poems. Thank you so much. Flex. Hear me. Neglect turned everything to gold. Midas touch. I turned the comfortable to the dead in anti-elegy, though. I'm learning not to mourn what I make. It's a complex. This gravity I birth unknowing, not my complex. Yours. Say it. I am owned by several things, all of them inherited from a horizon claimed before I was languaged. Invoke the historical then. Something, 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 chains, something, something, something unworthy. I'm citizen of a clumsy imperative. Belonging is a concern of a self-identified past participle implies the historical is a mob. Try again then. I mobbed my own lonely and was legion play some offense then. Gold the impossible wound. Citizen of betrayal. Citizen of the going recursion. This fugitive state is native to me as my father's eyes. Chestnut of a tree felled before we were language. Inheritance is a hell of a drug. We black and highly valued for our flex. I said what I said and became citizen of this petty excuse for forever. Flex on them then. Invocation of the bicep I have and the bicep throttling me. I live here now. Mississippi and everywhere is everywhere that someone may have escaped from. Fugitive, a sad motivation for river. It's a strange thing that belief you are beautiful be a subversion of the water, but here I am. Winter gasping at the conditions, too weak to even strangle the grass to soil. No, instead, trees feathered with their hollowed offspring. Here the wind don't howl, just blooms a militia of castanets. 7 people were lynched here. I looked it up, and nobody will tell me which tree. You are not as tired of the image as I am of uncertainty. Every day the rain threatens. Every day my same imperious lonely. Hear me. The sun ran like a punk. The sun ran like it owed. Not even the gold is trustworthy. Why gold? Because it was the color of my love, and by extension the life I buried here. Gold, the genesis of one lonely. My ancestors traded mere miles from here. Gold, the genesis of another. I know they are not the same in anything but geography. Still, it is an act of flex just to stand anywhere, gravity being what it is. Attempt the volta towards impossible. Midas the lonely into a radif, dreams of living life like a gilded garrote flex. Crown of scar tissue, still the crown flex. Go to therapy if you scared flex. Shuck the fear out the opposition flex. Everyday gold for the sake of your attention flex. Your here-ness, a mountain plumed with trees. Branches hemmed like unplayed notes. History can be undone with less than half an alphabet. Amend scandal of the time that brought you here then. Fled becomes flex. Example, my family fled from Mississippi becomes my family flexed from Mississippi, and you become the muscle driving you forward. See, you were ugly once because you believed it. Dire invocation. I am some kind of unkillable and don't know how to act. Everything I said I couldn't live without, gone. Lucky me to be born into a language of mistakes. I leave the violent unseen and watch them wither. Turns out I was their gravity, their forgetful sovereign. I flex. They flinch. Sonics of the word cousins by virtue of a pistol. This is how I was taught to bridle sadness like an American. Run with a band of kids with silver caps so you know we bad, waiting for the bone eviction. Flex like value native to your mouth, tooth out a tiny moon, second grin shimmering in your palm. Flex the loss, the cost is secondary, hear me. A life I had ended while I was trying to pursue the life I wanted by pursuing a loss cobwebbed as a bride. All of it's true, the calcium winnowing under the gold. I widowed my own comfort, I am in danger. My squad an echo, my squad I promise you get dead someday if you touch me, thus I'm untouched. Neglect killed the grass. The dead turn to gold before they resurrect. I am framed by a pastoral I might have escaped once. The history, oh, the lineage, the renowned flex of survivors. I'm here. I'm back. Muscled like a creek or the whisper that threads a storm miles later. Maybe not. Stick to the facts. I'm alive despite a growing and planetary grief. I wear a chain some days and a sweatshirt that translates to I am coming back for what is mine. Gaudy surprise on the faces of children of owners. They think I am impossible. They think I am a ghost. I'm Medusa like my daddy taught me. Their eyes wilt and are ill-tended grapes consumed by the skull. I'm metaphoring, but I told you. I don't know how to act, but I damn sure know how to anthem. My lyric loose and I got time today. I'm the type of bad no synonym alive can hold.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I feel like we're getting warmed up on the clapping. Yay. And the poetry. Our next reader is Katana Smith. Katana is a poet and writer from Aurora, Colorado. Her work has appeared in the Paris Review, Agni, Rhino Poetry, and elsewhere. She's a freelance writer and serves as an artist in residence at Northwestern University. Katana earned her MFA in creative writing and an MA in English from the Litowitz graduate program at Northwestern University. She is a McNair Scholar and a graduate of the creative writing program at Knox College. Welcome, Katana.
Okay, everything's fine with the chair. Let me think about this. Hi. Oh, I'm having like one of those days where like you keep dropping things and every time you drop it, it's something worse. So I'm like, is it gonna get worse? I don't want to hold anything else. I'm Katana. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much to Tarik for inviting me to be part of this. I was really fortunate to meet Tarik at Northwestern, where so many things happened, and it was really wonderful. It was just wonderful to meet you there. Tarik's work really inspires me. You know, just to not forget about the things that bring us into poetry, like it can be possible in this form of art. So anyway, I'm gonna read some poems, and we'll see what I say about them. Notes of self. The sun, casual and brutal on the side of an ugly church in the Rockies built probably around the time you were born, with the windows made of cubes of glass instead of wide, flat planes of it. The deer on the roadside, the head of the deer bleeding into the gravel on the other side, just barely of the guardrail. Magic words that make things happen. The change in pressure plugs your ears until you open your mouth in a sound. Oh. Or chew on something. The air is thin. Think hungry times. Diet Coke. If you were casual and brutal, life would be simple like it is for lichen. You flick your ears this way and that. When you imagined your future, why was it always somewhere else, some other time, someone else? Kind of continuing on that theme of the self, there's a lot of poems about me that I've written. I'm working on this project that's interrogating them. So this is imagining myself. Imagining myself with nervous resentment. I can't win, I guess I'll lose. Unlike my cousin, bored with Monopoly, who flipped over the board completely. Rainbow of money flying through the air. I struggle with this. I want to win. I like the game even though I know it's evil. Like so many other things, it was supposed to be fun. It just wasn't for me. Still, I can't stop watching you, and never mind, never mind. There's also like some poems about like people who are here know, and I know that they know them. So if you know what these poems are about, it's like a paratext for you that you get to enjoy. I think I shouldn't have said that before I read the title of this poem, but this poem is it'll come to me later. We can look at their Instagrams together. This poem is called Shitty Boyfriend. Shitty boyfriend. I was the only friend who would talk to you about him. You would call me in the afternoons from parking lots. In fact, I would talk to you about literally anything and share with you my perspective that you were so great, that every decision you made was so great, including dating your shitty boyfriend. Your voice rang toward me over the phone. It was like in the countryside near the Illinois River, when the sound of the train passing or a gunshot would make the birds rise from their seats and applaud. It was easy to imagine then what drowning in a river would sound like. Occasionally, I think I hear in the alley behind my apartment shattering. It's just the wind. This is Three of Us. Let's stay on that boyfriend theme. Three of us. Your boyfriend has been awake for hours, and he is making coffee in the kitchen. Your boyfriend was in the kitchen, cupboards, looking for something to put in his mouth. Your boyfriend made enough coffee, barely, for 3 people. Your boyfriend wasn't counting me exactly, maybe counting himself twice. Your boyfriend sang to himself so softly you didn't hear him under the grind of your coffee grinder, but I heard. He did not think, sings the tune without the words and never stops. I thought that. He sings without thinking. Thanks. Okay, I have like 3 more poems. This poem I'm like not sure how to read it out loud. There are some quotation marks in the poem that are important, and I'm just going to do them with my hand like this. So you have to imagine a piece of paper, okay? Song of Myself. Who wrote Song of Myself? What did the white tulips mean in the poem Song of Myself by Katana Smith? Katana Smith. Katana Smith. Who was Katana Smith? Katana Smith height. Katana Smith pronounce. Signs I'm Katana Smith. Signs, symptoms, Katana Smith. What is it like to have Katana Smith? Am I Katana Smith quiz? How to accept Katana Smith. How to live with Katana Smith. How to live with Katana Smith Reddit. What is Katana Smith? Living with Katana Smith without medication Reddit. Cure for Katana Smith. Is there a cure for Katana Smith? Therapist near me for Katana Smith. Why is it called Katana Smith? Who named Katana Smith? When was Katana Smith first discovered? Did Katana Smith say, I am the man I suffered, I was there? What are changes of garments? Why are agonies one of my changes of garments? Katana Smith quotes, Song of Myself by Katana Smith poem. What is the meaning of the poem Song of Myself by Katana Smith? Song of Myself, Katana Smith analysis. Poems by Katana Smith. Poems by Katana Smith. Katana Smith poet. Flower symbolism, white tulips explained. Thank you. Two more. I wanted to read this poem because it was a poem that Tarik published in Poetry Online, a wonderful publication on the internet. We love poetry online. And like, you know, all of the poems on this site are like recorded in an audio, which I think is like fabulous. And this is like a contrapuntal poem. So I think that was just an experience that pushed me to like interrogate the work more. And I just was really grateful for that. This is Saturn devouring his sun. It has always been my life in his hands. Once my father held me when I was small enough to hold in his two hands. I was floating, I remember, in the community pool. My helpless legs and arms struggle inadequately to tread water. This is not so different. It was like this for my father and his father, wasn't it? For my father and his father, they were the same thing once, in one another's hands. I am here, just a scrap of meat now, as we all belong to somebody else. I remember when I had a mouth, filling it with cherry tomatoes, so warm and tender with the weight of their liquid bodies. Sometimes they were so close to bursting, where they clustered on the vine, floating at the end of a stem. Their skins would split at the touch of my small fingers, their delicate bones. My skin was stained red with seeds and watery membranes, flesh. This is not so different. All my life someone has fed me. What did that feeding mean? I know it now. I am here between his thumb and forefinger where I will be all my life, and I'm sorry. Okay. It's the last one. I like that the pile of paper is getting bigger, it's smaller. It's kind of like, I love things like that. Okay. Reading Middlemarch all day. Was that really me? Standing stiffly and staring at men wearing dirty tennis shoes and their dirty tennis shoes. Did I sweat like that? My grandmother says things like, this doesn't feel like my life, but didn't I say that? Remember, we were drinking margaritas. Did I mean something different by it than she did, or did I not? Are the doctors concerned about her thinking it is 2044? Should I be? Reading Middlemarch all day, do I know what year it is? Who the president is? When I draw the hands of a clock, are they straight and long and pointing beautifully at 10 minutes to 11 o'clock? Could I grab my grandmother's hands and walk backwards in time? Can I make my sneakers white again? Do I have toothbrushes to make them clean? Do I have hands to scrub the leather, not too hard, just hard enough to remove everything, and it's like it never happened, and here we are. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katana. And finally, why we are all here, Tarik Dobbs. a celebration of this beautiful, beautiful book of poetry. And we almost made everybody buy copies when you came in. Stunning. If you have not looked inside, it's not just written word, it's art. So everyone, that's a plug to get the book, not only to read it, but also to enjoy it visually. It's stunning. Those of you online, sorry. That should have been here. So yeah, I would like to introduce Tarik. Tarik Dobbs is a writer, an artist, and a Poetry Foundation Ruth Lilly and Dorothy Sargent Rosenberg Poetry Fellow. That is a mouthful, but well-deserved. Tarik's poems appear in the Best New Poets and Best of the Net anthologies, as well as Agni, Guernica, and Poetry Magazine, among others. Tarik helps run Poetry Online and served as a guest editor at Mizna, Prose Poetry, and Art Exploring Arab America, as well as Zoe Glacia, a community for poets with disabilities. Tarik received an MFA in creative writing from the University of Minnesota and is currently an MFA fellow in art theory practice at Northwestern University and is, of course, the author of the amazing new book, Nazar Boy. So without further ado, Tarik.
We'll see how this goes. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Julian and Ayas and Katana, some of my favorite poets, and it's such an honor to read alongside these folks and to be here with you all. I also am sad that Maya Marshall, my editor, isn't here, but she was such an instrumental part of this collection, and I'm so grateful to Haymarket for making this book happen and for taking a chance on me. So thank you. And yeah, I'll read a few poems. So this is, and some of the, so a lot of this book is based on a research trip I did to Palestine. So it's kind of sad, but there's probably like one happy poem, so we'll get there. But this poem is called My Brother Was Born Both Ally and Combatant, and it is a duplex, which is the form by Jericho Brown. All voyeurism begins with surveillance. My brother's voyage ends in the Galilee. I dream of a wall across the Galilee. Brother tunnels under and follows sunlight. A hot light eats his entire body, like his warm gun ate his jacket's lining. His jacket's lining was wool, dead sheep, supposedly still living. My brother does live, supposedly, like his old state. He buys groceries in Novelist some weekends. He buys groceries for Novelists on weekends. I hope this city begins where the state ends. That occupation ends where the state began. All voyeurism begins with surveillance. This is a visual poem. It's a silhouette of the Twin Towers. This is listening to the news on YouTube with countries missing, and it is from an ABC News broadcast from September 12th, 2001 in New York City, USA. They can't push us around. Anything short of a violent response would be useless. The enemy has got to be eradicated. There was no stomach for restraint. I think these people are a bunch of cowards, and I would love to worship her at a downtown mosque supported. Can we take out one or two people and be done with it? I don't think so. I don't think we can eradicate an entire culture. Several mosques in the area have received threatening phone calls. When people's passions have boiled over, terrorism is not automatically associated with Islam. Who or what would the blank hit? Would the blank inflict real pain, or would it just make the blank feel better? Someone is at war with us. The blank loses the moral high ground. The blank suggested whatever happens will not happen soon. There is a strain of extremism here that worries the blank. In blank, the aid workers of the United Nations have cleared out. They paid off their local staff and they took their documents. We're going to stay overseas. There's anxiety in the region as a whole. But that does not explain why a few Muslims would murder so many blank, or why others would applaud their crimes. In fact, the blank is a target because many Arabs see the blank as an accomplice of blank. What they believe is the ruthless repression of blank aspirations for land and independence. The most provocative issues are blank's control over Islamic holy sites in Jerusalem, the stationing of blank troops near some of Islam's holiest sites, and economic sanctions against which have seemed to deprive children of medicine and food. But perhaps nothing as such as Israel's recent attacks on blank militants using blank-built helicopters as gunships, prompting this kind of Arab response today. Of course, I'm sorry for the civilians. I mean, the streets have to pay the price for the suffering of the whole world. That rationale may seem irrational, but it is an explanation for yesterday's aftermath and is shared by many Arabs in the Middle East and elsewhere. It explains nothing and everything. Jim Wooten, ABC News, signing off. As I cross the checkpoint, Ramallah's sunset reveals the silhouette of an Israeli soldier behind a one-way mirror. To select the ideal hilltop vantage, Bible panorama, except with motorcycle cops, raise a diorama, light it up. Is your state a docudrama? Data collection is nonstop. Typical Americana, a topographic paradox. One settler gazes in pajamas, his lit roof, one-way mirror top. Raise a diorama, light it up. This poem is called Deconstructing My Birth. A man and my mother shape a name. Tarik or Tarit, one who travels at nighttime, a nomad. A crescent cuddling a star in the Holy Land, a plane to Palestine, a slipping or gasping exit. Ascent by ladder, the dream visitor tears moonlight with scorching heat. Imitating twilight or landing. Please unlock, the guard points, like my father holding every regret, my name, on my head. A crow dismembers roadkill, the middle of the road, a desert storm at head-on. But you celebrated Christmas, right? You don't really know Arabic. He means a white Muslim thought I'd cross mountains, reflections of red roofs, mint, and solar heaters. My throat outpouring a saltless trench of Lake Michigan, inserting the self into a green line first, pulling in as fragments seep out. Undistinguished before, the self cross-examines the cities visited, a mandate of wounded vanity to memorize the opening of a prophet's cave, a crescent moon nuzzling from homestay, what it means to be Arab and American, like Issa's painted face, to be born with two names, both the night and the lantern. Okay. So this next poem is an ekphrasis, which is just like means a poem about a piece of art, and it's based on a silver-plated fabric that an artist made that reflects thermal radiation. So this is anti-drone niqab made from silver. The item is fabricated with silver-plated fabric that reflects thermal radiation, enabling the wearer to avert overhead thermal surveillance. Adam Harvey, Stealthwear, 2013. Love, we've made it from checkpoint to checkpoint. Please don't try to kiss me in front of the window. I prefer the mirror's reflection, a silver lake. I'll never be gold, never the conductor inside the computer or the MRI machine, nor the chime of gold bangles. Silver clinks like Sajat, like Sito could have taught me, her dilated pupils the darkest deposits in this monochrome photograph, like a Christmas story. Might I become a beloved lampshade with legs? A nimbus cloud cut into a crop top? I will hide my face for good this time. You keep coming back to our final act, kissing in front of the window. You insist, Habib, please. You remind me there's power in numbers, like a murder in the winter, waiting in an oak tree. You say, like the crow, we've entered a stone age. The crow elicits an absence of light, a hole in our sky where the brightest reds once hung. Our tool can disappear a haji, as in, under the table, we scatter silver across our bodies. A good set of silverware. One utensil for hunger and one for vanishing. Habib, you say, Why do you think I've been dropping forks all night? Our dinner eaten by LED Edison bulbs. Their low wattage still registers in the viewfinder. A walkie clicks. The fire is out. Shoot for safety. So, this next poem is titled Mad Honey, and it's a sonnet with great thanks to the Ukrainian novelist Andrei Kurkov. I didn't get bees until wartime, until the battlefields bittered our pollen, its gun-powered honey collected from colony to colony, the Lebanon to the Ukraine, my mother's metallic spit, her tongue in the mirror, the great burst coaxing her larynx, invisible, a mandated moment, its promise to history. Along the Black Sea, war was waged, reddened, a hallucinogenic tint to be measured. As always, the dose makes this syrup poisoned. A promise, the bee's dead someday, just like us. Sorry, I got it really depressing. Okay, I'll read a few more. This is like one of the only other visual poems I'll read. It's in like a silhouette of an X-ray of my hand, which is just my hand. So yeah, it's fun. So this is Nub. In middle school, Samantha told me to use my nub finger to, quote, finger your own pussy. She handed me a yellow wrap tampon. For you, she said, from her purse. The only person I've ever met who's missing similar finger bones is a Gulf War veteran named Alex from Wayne, Michigan. He lost half of his right index finger inside the bottom of a lawnmower he was trying to start. He told me it was shredded past the point of no return. 3 years ago, a physician I saw for an unrelated ailment informed me, while measuring my blood oxygen, that I can be dated by the skin grafting technique used to separate my finger's webbing. No radiocarbon needed. She offered me a referral to have the grafts of pubic hair lasered off from between my fingers. I later learned laser is an acronym, light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. This terrified me. I accepted her offer, but have yet to contact the burn skin unit at my hospital back in Michigan. Challenge. Close your eyes. Try to imagine the voicemail you'd leave for the burn unit at the hospital. Like the rest of us, I am an artifact of modern medicine, a body which can be further improved upon, and further improved upon, and further improved upon. I'll just do two more. So this is Ajin hums in Sakhnin, and the two epigraphs are, will you defeat them, all the non-believers, the plans that they have made? My Chemical Romance. And then, but I am planning a plan, so allow time for disbelievers, leave them a while. Quran 86, 16, 17. Up the Galilee, we lay arm in arm, homestay brothers in a twin bed, music of missiles, mortars or martyrs wake, or interceptions now, my brothers always unsure. Is it Syrian? Lebanese? In Fajr's kneel and grow, I see the faded welts on his arms. It's afternoon, he stomps down the block, settling into the men's club, soccer and smoke-filled reminiscing. The Adgili bubbles. My brother, he whispers, I'm growing tired of guilt like this. At the foggy barbecue, he laughs. Here, there is no work, only wildfire. On the news, we hear the pines planted 70 years ago are igniting or starting to wither. Dinners getting later and later. If tear gas and rubber could cure this soil, always a missile would whisper. Tonight, the reporters post a photograph of a doctor bleeding out. Tomorrow, the wounds multiply, go unsewn. My brother hands me his best lighter. I singe the charcoal. It sputters. The djinn floods out in a flicker of light. The djinn shows me many moons ago, when the Galilee still stretched, undivided by the hard lines of empire, families crossing freely through its valleys, when the prophet's cave glowed like the crescent sculpture in the town square. I drive us in circles on Nakba Day. reminiscing of night walks home. The Jinn knows it's dazzling, the expanse of this moon, the Iron Dome in action. Now is the time, it said to me. I must rethink my life. And we'll try to end on a lighter note. So this is the 15-year-old considers his closet. How badly I wanted to be prettied in the back seat of some taxied sedan, with my black lipstick twisted out, maybe. My smile vaselined, like my khalti always said, the name brand, so it's safe in your mouth. These images dreamed in my mirrored gaze of a high school men's restroom, where I knew the crushed soda cans turned urinal cakes would outlive all the friends who snorted our shared Ritalin collection, and certainly outlive me. And thank God, my love will outlive me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tarik. Thank you, all of our readers. Time to mingle, buy books. Tarik, if you're up for it, if you'll sign books. But Jamaica's selling books over there. And feel free to hang out. There's some snacks in the kitchen. Make yourselves at home. And thank you all for being part of this amazing event. And one more time for Tarik, congratulations on your book.